trigonometry is going to be all about solving for missing sides and missing angles and a right triangle. A right triangle just means that you're going to see this little box in one of the three corners of the triangle, which represents a 90-degree angle. That right there is a 90-degree right angle. And trigonometry can only be used if you see that little box that stands for right angle. Now, before you can do any of the actual math with trigonometry, you have to be able to label your three sides as the hypotenuse, adjacent, or opposite. The hypotenuse is always going to be the easiest one to find because it will be literally across from the right angle. So if we come down here to the right angle, you're going to notice it's kind of pointing to one of the sides that it's across from, and we're going to label that as H for the hypotenuse. Now, in order to know the adjacent side or the opposite side, we have to choose which angle is going to be our captain angle, as I like to say. Now, in this problem, I went ahead and beautifully labeled A as my captain angle. So now we can actually label the other two sides. So adjacent is a fancy way to say next to, and we want to know which side is next to the captain angle. This side is always already the hypotenuse. So when I go back to my captain, this side is literally next to it. So that will be A for adjacent. And then opposite is the opposite side that's across from the captain angle. So if I go to my captain, on the opposite side, all the way across the triangle, is my opposite side. So before you can do any actual trigonometry, you have to, one, find your captain angle, and then label the sides. Your hypotenuse, this adjacent next to the captain angle side, then the opposite side that's across from the captain. Now, we want to set up something called sine, cosine, and tangent. And those three words are what we mean in trigonometry when we say trig. It's sine, cosine, and tangent. But in math, we get lazy. So usually we're just going to use sin for sine, cos for cosine, and tan for tangent. But those are the full vocab words, just so you guys know. So now I want to find the sine, cosine, and tangent of my captain angle. So what I'm going to do in order to find the sine is I'm going to write sin. We only use those first three letters. Next to it, I always put the captain angle. In this case, it's angle A. And we always set up a fraction when we do trigonometry. Now, if you want a sine problem, that's the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So I'll go back to my labeled triangle. I see my opposite is 3. My hypotenuse is 5. So I'm going to put 3 over 5 there. The cosine of A, and remember, we just use cos for cosine, is going to be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse when we set up our fraction. So I'll go back and find where's the adjacent side, where's the hypotenuse. So we'll end up having 4 over 5. And if you wanted to do the tangent of A, we're going to do tan. And all tangent problems are O over A. O over A. And this is something that you're just going to want to memorize. The so, ka, toa. This little thing will help organize your trigonometry no matter how challenging it can get. Let's label up one more. So you always first need to find the captain angle. In this case, I told you the captain angle is C. And now we need to label the sides. Hypotenuse, adjacent, opposite. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. So if I find that box, it's going to point over to the hypotenuse. Adjacent is a fancy way to say next to the captain angle. So I'll go back to the captain. This side's already the hypotenuse. So the only other side that could be next to it is the 11. And then opposite is across from the captain angle. So if I travel across the triangle on the opposite side, I see 10 will be my O. Now we're going to set up our trig fractions for sine, cosine, and tangent. So whenever you want a sine problem, it's always O over H. So in this case, O over h. So it'll be 10 over 15. Cosine is always a over h. So I'll take a over h for cosine. And tangent is always o over a. O over a. 10 over 11. And those would be those three setups.